Beautiful timing.
He saw me dance.
He's like,
I don't think so.
you never.
Come on, I can't dance because people will always say, my wife can really dance. Like she's, but it's like people are like, "What? You're a drummer?" And they say like, "You can't dance." I'm like, I was behind the kit playing in the band the whole time.
You're
I
making
can't
people
get up
dance.
there.
You're making people
I'm sitting
dance.
down.
I've seen you dance. I didn't say it was good.
Okay, yeah, I know. Well, thank you. Anyway, all right.
Well, we're here with song and dance man, Mr. Rick Nonnenmocher. And we are going to dig into a little bit about your drumming journey.
All right.
And 90% of this is us going to be laughing at things that no
All
one
right.
else finds funny.
That's okay.
But
Yeah,
I'm just going
that's true.
to work in song and dance, man,
That's
as much
true.
as I can.
I like this song.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But I'd like to quickly talk about your influences because we've had many conversations. Whether it's we have a video or a song on and the drummer's going nuts, he's doing this, doing that, and you're like, just play the beat.
Yeah.
You're like, just settle into it.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
I'm tangled in this thing.
Well, yeah.
All right.
So I want to know about and you have a very straight ahead
Yeah.
style, rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Old school. a
where
little bit,
did
yeah.
you pick that up?
Mainly, probably Ringo would be the first of the straight rock beat, and certainly earlier people than Ringo, like Hal Blaine probably. When I say Hal Blaine and the Wrecking Crew, that would have come because I was obsessed with music like since literally I started listening to radio. These are the old days of radio. Literally at 2 years old.
Before cell phones.
2 years old, I would listen because we had a little transistor radio on the kitchen table. I was obsessed with the sound of it. And I think the first thing that it really grabbed me was Hal Blaine on that Ronettes song Phil Spector produced, Be My Baby. And that beginning, doom, 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 cha, doom,
Oh, yeah.
And that's exciting sounding, even when you're like a toddler, that it
Yeah.
grabbed me.
Yeah.
And that was probably the first, and that's pretty straight ahead too, because it's a girl group song. And but that because of his drumming intro, that's what got my first attention. But I would say that the straight 2 and 4 would have come from Ringo. And I had 3 older brothers, so this music was in my house.
Right.
And my oldest brother was a guitar player.
Yeah.
And they were really his records. And
Gotcha.
he would buy 45s and that kind of stuff.
But you have access because you're brothers.
And I just
Of
had
course,
that feeling for rhythm that was somewhat natural, and I loved music from the get-go. So
That's interesting. So do you have a family band? Do you jam?
we used to just play in the living room. We were crammed into this little house and stuff. But occasionally we try to get a bass player. My brother and I would play. Like I taught myself to play Wipeout.
Sure.
Because that was probably only about 2 years old, that song, when I taught myself how to play it. And
you never stopped playing it. From
Never
what I
stopped.
understand,
I know.
because that is like #1 requested.
I know. And there were times I thought it would go away. I thought, hey, it's finally fading. You'd be at a gig somewhere and somebody comes up and say, do you know Wipeout? It's like, but I have to be, well, let me look into, no, but anyway, and you end up having to kind of do it. And I'm thinking, did this thing ever die? Oh, it's like 50 years. It's like, are you kidding me? But that's what happens.
Yeah.
See, I think the general public who remember that song or that era even on any level, they don't see you as a drummer until you can play Wipeout, the general listener.
Right.
They don't.
There are those certain things.
I hate that song, in a way.
Yeah. In a way. Sounds like you just hate it.
I do.
Yeah. So that's interesting though, because there are these like, it's like if you, like you're setting up your drums or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's just always that voice. I don't know I think a human's usually attached to it. There's just that voice from like the back of the bar, like in the corner somewhere, play drum solo. Like guaranteed, that Wipeout thing reminds me of that. Like, yeah, it's the Freebird thing. It's the like, yeah.
And my attitude is, I'm not going to be real rude about it.
Of course
but
not.
But my attitude is kind of like, why don't you come up here and play it, and I'll just go and sit down there and watch.
Right.
I don't feel like playing.
You see,
You know what I mean? Right.
You seem to be a fan of the song. Get up here.
I don't feel like playing it.
Yeah.
So you know how it is. But
well, I gotta say, your title of Song and Dance Man is not really fitting with your whole attitude.
Yeah,
here.
I've got a really contempt for my audience. No, I'm kidding. But anyway,
Contempt for your audience.
But anyway,
no, that makes total sense. And back to like the Ringo thing, totally makes sense. Just I've heard you many times say, "Give me the sticks and play," just in passing.
Right.
You hear something, whatever, you're going into life and be like, just give me the sticks and hit the drums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the frills and things kind of.
I don't like too much like analytical.
That's what it is. It the approach rather than like the technicality. It's the approach.
Here's the bottom line. I think in many ways I love like pop music, and that can be anything from jazz to silly songs on the radio over the years, and and rock and roll stuff and blues and all this kind of stuff. Folk music, I like all the hippie stuff. I like Joni Mitchell, just singing pretty with a guitar. I like vocalists and songwriters, that kind of stuff too. And I like Hendrix. I like all that stuff. That I grew up with in my house. It was in my house all the time. But I really like this. I'm a song lover, so I like the song first. So I look at the drums as a little bit secondary, as opposed to, okay, I'm a drummer, I'm so important, and let me analyze this before I sit down and play. I get that, to think things out. I think you have to have some kind of way to think things out. But I'm like, okay, yeah, you give it a little thought, and you might work at it just a little bit, how you'll approach a song when you can improvise, or you want it to sound reasonable.
The difference between planning and overanalyzing.
Yeah, I hate the overanalyzing. I just I like that attitude. That was one thing I really liked, and he could be volatile and stuff, but that's what I liked about Buddy Rich. It was like, Junior, just give me the sticks. I'm going to come in here and let's burn this place down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, let's blow. Let's that's what I like. And it's not that I don't plan for things. I do.
Of course.
Within reason, but it's in my mind. I'm just singing out the song, or I think about what moves me in this song. It may not be, it's not going to be a real technical song necessarily. Most of the time it isn't. It has some moments, but I'm thinking, what moves me in this song? Maybe in this part I'll do that sort of feel, that tom-tommy feel that I felt, that was close enough to maybe an original song or something.
Yeah.
But not every note's the same. You bring in your own style a little bit.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think that there is a little bit of the especially there's a lot of like Instagram drummers now, and social TikTok drum, whatever, social drummers that probably, I don't want to say probably, because there's so many people out there, it's hard to generalize, and I don't like generalizing too much, but there are a lot of drummers out there that started to learn the drums and have a kit set up, and instead of taking a lesson or playing in their garage, loading up a van with their buddies and going and playing a live gig, just took what money they had saved up from their job, bought a camera and a light, and now their entire feedback that they get is based off of a comment section rather than a live audience, which will respond differently. And you talking about that "Be My Little Baby," like you know what I mean?
I heard that, it was
power,
an exciting sound.
That power in a record translated is awesome, and then that live is a whole different thing. And what you experience when you're playing along with people, are clapping along, if people are dancing, that feedback is very different. What do you think about the notion of not the notion, but the reality we live in, where there are drummers that haven't played live in front of an audience? How important do you think that is?
Well, I think it's important. It gives you confidence more. I don't know. It just feels more real. And I'm not always confident, I mean, I played in front of people many years on and off, here, there, outside, bigger things, smaller things, so that's not a problem, but I still get the jitters right before I'm going to start sometimes. Doesn't matter where it is.
It's that good stress. You know what I mean? That's why I always call it good stress, is because you have that little in the back of your mind, that little bit of edge. That this could all crash and burn. You know what I mean? And I think that's really important. And I felt that first with music
Mm-hmm.
growing up, and I kind of chase that now in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like doing this,
Yeah.
like that, like before Sean and I turned on the camera and started doing the first thing, when we were planning it out, we were both a little bit like, are we really going to do this? Are we really? And that feeling is what made me be like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Because we've got that little bit of, you
cliff.
got a little jump. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And not everything will go right every time. I mean, generally
not.
speaking, I feel like, I have enough experience that I can reasonably, to the listener, it'll hold it together reasonable. It's not like I'm doing anything super fancy. It's a feeling. Everything I do is a feel.
Yeah.
I see it as, I see music as my own personal escape. I do. It's like going to another world. I leave it, and I'm listening. I'm engaged, but I'm still going to that other world. But because I'm a fan of great singers and things like that, people that I admire, or somebody that I might be able to play that I think is a great guitarist or a great keyboardist and can play and sing, I'm listening to them. And I'm just dancing, sitting down, just laying down the basics, whatever feels right. That's what I do. And then I come back. And I'm like, hello, I'm back again. I do.
Yeah.
But it's like that. And this is why when I was talking about over-analyzing too much, I think you have to think some things out, certainly be prepared. That's all good things. Practice whatever you need to do. But it's sort of, because everything with me is emotional and it's about a passion and feeling and loving song, and loving music. I love the sound of it, in the air. It's in my head. It's in my brain. There's 20 songs, 30, 40, 50 songs playing in my head 24/7. It sounds like I'm out of my mind, which I am. But anyway.
Sure.
But there, in my book, there's no place. This is me being.
No, I love it. We're
negative
digging deep.
opinion.
Let's go.
In my place, there's no room for, I always say this, lab coats, Bunsen burners, scientists, mathematicians, all this crap. Now, I'm not saying they can't make good drummers. I'm not knocking anybody who's like that. Or engineers. There might be a brilliant engineer here that plays great drums,
Yes.
So I'm not saying that. But to me, I want all that stuff. I want the statistics and the algebra and the calculus all out of this thing. I just want to feel. I want to feel, and I want to groove. That's it. And I hopefully, if it's appropriate, like in a worship thing, I want to engage myself in that sincerely while I'm playing, but I also want to engage the people who are there sincerely, right? By how I play it. And it's not about old chops and fancy crap. It's you
Talk about a scenario where feeling is not only important but driving the ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that worship setting is very different. Yeah, I know. I absolutely relate to that. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I think that it is important. It is important to have that live experience for any musician, not just drummers, but any musician. And it's not the anxiety of it necessarily, but you get that little bit of edge, and you get to find out what kind of musician you are. Like, you would never have found out that you're a feeling type except that you played 100 gigs. And after the first 100 gigs, you're like, this is what I enjoy about it. This is what I don't enjoy about it.
Yeah.
I remember early on when I was first getting started, I thought that, and I know a lot of other drummers have had this experience where they start out and they think they have to play absolutely every single note of the record exactly the same as the drummer, right? And all it takes is you watching a video of your favorite drummer or playing that song live, and you're like, they're not doing that.
Right.
It's all about the general consensus, the feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when you're talking about drummers in lab coats and Bunsen burners, that is the person.
Where did the Bunsen burners go?
I don't know, but I love it.
I hated science. I hated math. Listen. We need engineers.
They've got Bunsen burners. They put their goggles on to get to work.
We need engineers. We need mathematicians.
Of course,
no disrespect.
We're just talking.
But in my world, they needed to shove off.
But
anyway,
okay.
no,
this is your world.
Anyway,
this is your world.
All right.
But when you bring it back to that, I that's where my mind went is when I first started. I thought I had to learn every note and that sort of thing. And I think that you'll find that type of drummer, the type of drummer that does that, analyzes everything, plays the ostinato, as you always like to tell me about. The ostinato. I decided to put the ostinato here.
Know.
That type of drummer, which is totally fine if you're that type of drummer. This is not that type of drummer, right? And I think it's a beautiful thing that everyone gets their own, their own experience, and they discover that about themselves. But playing live gives you that. That's why I wanted your opinion on it, because I think that's really important.
Like if you were just playing a small gig in a smaller club or something like that, there is a certain, even in a rock band, even if you're playing somewhat loud but not overbearing, it's almost comes off like an acoustic thing almost. Even when you're plugged in, if the people sit closer, you actually communicate with the audience better. You see their reaction. Do they care? Who cares if they care? I mean, it's their choice.
Right.
But it feels a little more intimate. Like I think with all this, with all the computer technology and everything, I mean, it's very nice to just, comment or something like that, but there's something about, listen, man, this is real. You're here with real people who are playing, and it's kind of a neat exchange sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I think that technology is amazing in that, from the audience perspective, you can experience something similar, if not the same thing, and get all the value out of the show. You can get the emotions. You can, especially with all these cameras and audio, you can like feel like you're really there, or enough that you can get what you need out of a performance.
Right.
But from the band's perspective, from the musician's perspective, when you're in a room like this with a camera, you're not getting that feedback. So the performance, it's a different thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you can compartmentalize that and move forward and get the feedback that you need, then that's amazing. But yeah, I'm definitely in the boat with you where having that human connection inside the same room is perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Well, I have to say, I didn't want to interrupt you earlier, but you said, but I'm back there dancing. So you're a song and dance man, but you appreciate the song more than the drums itself, and you're dancing in your own head.
Yeah.
So you are a song and dance man.
Yeah, I guess I am. I don't know. But, yeah. But you asked me about influences. Is that was that the last question?
Yeah, that was the first thing I asked you. And we talked about that.
It's
but
a lot
if you
of,
want to go into that.
Well, it's a lot of 60s drummers because I can't help it, because that's how it started. So it went from like Ringo, then it went to Dino Danelli with the Young Rascals, Good Lovin'. That guy could really play. If I think just going in that lineup there, Mitch Mitchell with Jimi Hendrix was an amazing drummer.
Killer.
He was really good. They didn't record the drums really well, but I remember listening to him a lot. Certainly Ginger Baker with Cream and Clapton and, all that stuff. Let's not forget Motown drummers. I listened to a lot of Motown. Benny Benjamin, I loved the Temptations when I was a little kid. And he played, I know he played on that, what's that song I love? I don't think it's, Can't Get Next to You. Can't get next to you, babe. That one? Yeah, I love that. And that's Benny Benjamin on there. And it was Benny Benjamin, Uriel Jones, and Pistol Allen. Those guys were great.
Yeah.
Just straight ahead, but they grooved.
Right.
And of course you guys know from some of that video and the Funk Brothers, those guys, they had great percussionists on there, that,
Insane.
put those things out.
Insane, yeah.
But those drummers were an influence because they were just all over the airways. See, everything was radio. It was radio. And I listened to Top 10 as it's the old days, And there's a few more. I mean, certainly a lot more than that, but I just can't think of them
Right, no,
offhand.
that makes total sense.
Like Keith Moon, Now, he's sloppy, but what I liked about him was that thing I'm talking about, a passion.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, some of it. And yet sometimes he was dragging or he was speeding, things that I don't normally like. But he's one of the few that could get away with it because of the way he poured himself into it.
The energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like showy drummers. I don't, when they really put on the show. I mean, that's part I realize it's lively.
Yeah, of course.
I think but he's one of the few that I could tolerate, and certainly, old films of like Gene Krupa, stuff like that. That was fun to watch. But even when I was young, when I played, it's just like, it looks like I'm going to a funeral, right? I was like,
You're just sad back there. But meanwhile, in your head, you're in your own world.
But I'm in my own world, and I'm actually sometimes feeling joyful, or I'm feeling moved, or I'm, you just don't know.
Right.
The other reason for that is too, especially now that I'm old, it's sort of, I didn't move a lot in the center of the, body. Why? Because I don't want to move more, or else I'll drop dead back there. You know what I mean? Honestly. See, the adrenaline's high. I'm moving,
Sure.
But, if I'm going to go, dance around like that.
Would you consider it?
I never liked that. Never liked it. Go ahead.
Would you consider it a dangerous workplace when you're back there?
Yes.
It's a,
just park the ambulance right
some
next
people,
to the drum riser.
I
mean, at this age, come on.
There's there's miners trapped thousands of feet under the earth, and at least we can be thankful that they're not, playing Wipeout behind the drum set again, because they have a dangerous job, but it's no.
But I'm always talking.
Throne.
But I'm always talking about that. It comes up. That Wipeout thing always comes up, and I said I already told my wife. I said when I die, if I get a tombstone, I'm going to just have in quotes on it. Here lies Nonnenmocher. It's going to say play Wipeout under it in quotes. I feel like I ought to. I mean, you just can't get away from that thing. It's ridiculous.
I don't know. I think it's chasing you.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it's chasing you specific. All right. So I do want to get your take on something here.
All right.
I would like to know, in an ideal world, seeing as we are in a drum shop,
okay,
what does the Rick Nonnenmocher drum shop look like as far as stick selection? What kits are on the floor? What type of vibe are we looking at?
Okay. I would say sticks. This is my model right here. As a matter of fact, you should just print Rick Nonnenmocher on here. This is
signature stick.
The signature stick. The drum's a set of a 3A, right? There you go.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because it has a nice bead, but more importantly, it's the shoulder up here is a little stronger right up to here. Because normally, I guess you break them up here.
Yeah.
But the beauty of this stick is what I found is it shreds a lot, but it does not break. Now, I did break one of them one time. And this is a lot of sticks that I've used of these.
They don't break, they just give up.
Right.
They give up.
But I think it was one lemon.
Yeah.
The first one I've ever gotten out of probably 100 of these things. And I keep them and I run them into the ground in the home studio and stuff, right? But that one did one of those bad explosions too, right in your palm. I hate that because it's like digs in here.
Yeah,
it's
pinches
like,
you.
Ouch. But I do recommend this stick. It's one of the strongest sticks, and I'm doing back beats that I'm just hitting right on the rim.
Yeah,
and
I hear you.
It's just shredding away. They don't break.
In your drum shop, is there any other option?
No.
That's it.
Because I tried a lot of these other sticks.
Yeah.
This has just the right weight too. You can play lighter with it, but you can also play heavy with it. It's a nice in between. It's a little, to me, it feels a little heavier than a 5B, but a little thinner.
Gotcha.
That's the way I feel it. I could be wrong.
But the weight
general
balance can
consensus.
trick your mind.
Yeah.
All right. What are kits looking like?
Not too big is a big one. I think
as far as pieces or sizes.
Yeah. Well, I'm not against like some of these 5 pieces that are in here and stuff like that. I just like 4-piece kits mainly, and that's okay. You can just add the other tom-tom or take it on and off. I don't have a problem with that. Not real. Just this is me. Real heavy hardware other than maybe the hi-hat and the pedals, that kind of stuff. I like those flat bassy stands. The retro.
Of course, man.
You don't. They're designed better in balance today than they were 100 years ago when I had them.
When you started?
Right.
When you started 100 years ago?
Yes. But anyway, they did a better engineering of them, and they're actually sturdier than they look, Yeah.
And there's a lot of brands that are making different variations.
And it would probably, and I realize, you need the wall space, but I would probably have really cool retro pictures in black and white of famous drummers lining, like a Manny's Music thing in New York or something, that type of thing, all around.
Yeah,
a lot of pop culture stuff.
Sure.
Old ads, that kind of stuff, because I'm into the, mid-century stuff and, kitschy, cool stuff like that. But I don't know, that's about it. Pretty simple, more simplified drum sets. I would probably get rid of all the China cymbals. I don't know why I would. I'm talking about, I don't like those China cymbals.
They're gone.
Like a hit or two in that is great. I see that there's a place for it. You know what I mean? But, okay, Sean agrees. Not really. There you go. You heard it here. But it's true. It's like sometimes people will come in, and even some of my students have said to me, and I'm not going to discourage them. I don't want to. You got to do what works for you and what what moves you, and that's fine. My opinion really doesn't matter. To what people want to do. If they're interested in drums, I think that's great. I encourage it. I encourage it in the drum students, all that stuff. But but I've had
this
some
is
of
your
the students,
drum shop, man.
Some of the students come. Oh, well, thank you.
No. I didn't mean it. I meant the
sign the deed over.
Hypothetically.
I hear you. But anyway, they're like, I was thinking about getting a China. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, how would you use it? I don't want to discourage anybody. But for me, I'm like, no, we don't need that crap.
Yeah.
Just and the other thing is this. I understand, especially if you're even at a higher, professional level, things like that, where people are choosy about their cymbals, and that's great that we can test them here. I think that, that's why you need a drum shop. I agree. You were talking about that stuff. You need a drum shop because you need to come in and test some of this stuff. You got to find out, is it right? You guys are the kind of sometimes move it right to the set, and that's great. But it always got on my nerves, and no offense to anyone, but it's
Just say
Go ahead.
right. But
what got on your nerves?
I'm an old man.
Everything
Gets on my nerves. I'm an old man now. But anyway.
what was your excuse 30 years ago?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody's in the cymbal room, and they're just going on, and they're so choosy. It's like, because they said, I'm here to choose a couple cymbals. I understand.
Right.
You're stuck with this thing a long time. They cost some money. Yeah, I get that. And you're thinking about the applications. Maybe you're playing one thing in a little folk band, another little jazz trio, and then you're doing a hard rock thing all at once. I get that. You want something that can cross the things. But they're in there for 45 minutes or up to an hour for two cymbals maybe, and they're ding, 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 and they're trying it, and that's great. That's part of your customer service. I get that. It's all good. But it's like, dude, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I will pick two cymbals. I'll try some. I will pick two cymbals, and I will live with them for the next 100 years on the set. I will, and I'll move it between drum sets.
Yeah.
I
like it.
It's like too much thinking.
Listen.
It's like, get it on. What do we do here? Does somebody sit in the audience who's never played a musical instrument in their life, right? Do they sit there and they go, I just don't think I can deal with that cymbal sound. You know what I mean? Right? It's like, just pick the things and get out.
Okay, so just to recap for everyone, the Rick Nonnenmocher drum shop. You walk in the front door, your timer starts. You have 5 minutes to shop. You can walk over to the stick display, which only has one option for you. Your drum sets are all 4-piece kits.
That's right.
Except for one
Less
5-piece
is more.
kit.
Less is more.
Except for one 5-piece kit that
Less
he
is
kind
more,
of
right?
he kind of disdains. He will not be demoing anything for you
That's
because
right.
he's worried
No, I'll
that
let
he's going
him
to
demo.
keel over and die.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
Okay.
if you take longer than 5 minutes, there's an eject button. There's an eject button,
That's
and
right.
there's also a trap door.
Yep,
So if he pulls
yep,
the lever,
yep.
you're going down.
Yep.
If he ejects you, you're flying up.
There's no time for this crap. Let's just go out and make music. That's the way I see it. You know what I mean?
I like it.
Right?
I gotta say, I like your concept.
Too much detail, and I think people should have choices. I think it is.
Right.
I do think it is a great thing. You have so many more choices today of things you do than it was 30, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is remarkable. So I understand that aspect, and I understand an investment and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, again, what do? We just get behind a band, and we try to make the band play better, hopefully. And it's not because we're playing fancy crap all the time. We're just giving a good feel and a good groove, and making people play better, hopefully. And sometimes we're on, sometimes we're off a little bit, and I know it. Though it may come across okay because I can keep time reasonable, that I'm not feeling this, and yet I'm on the beat, I think.
I know.
And then the next time you really feel it, you can't describe it. It's something like, when I get in that mode, I'm making a grocery list while I'm playing. Like, I'm like, okay, I have to pick up the tomatoes, on the way home, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, I'm on the beat, the muscle memory's loosely there, but I can tell that something's wrong, that I'm not playing as well as I'd like to.
Got to lock it in.
Yep.
Song and dance, man.
Yep.
Well, Rick, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for enlightening us.
Yes.
This is an excuse for me to just let you loose a little bit because I really agree with everything you're saying.
You better.
But this is a safe space. I am able to leave.
Yeah.
I'm not a hostage.
Right.
No,
okay.
But I appreciate your bluntness and your straightforward approach to drumming.
And I don't want to step on anybody's stuff.
You're not stepping on anything. You're not.
You got to approach music and drums what you're interested in.
Of course.
I think everybody has their own way. Yes, I'm extremely opinionated. It's just that love of song first, drums second. I know that sounds kind of bad for a drum teacher, but I think sometimes we get people get the other way too hard, where you're losing it. It's like, it's about me on the drums and I need to play this technical thing to this thing. No, you don't. Just get back there and play the 2 and 4 and shut up. You know what I mean? Right? It honestly.
Yeah.
Just play a blankety blank beat.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm signing off.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us here at Drum Key. If you want to contribute to the show, I will mention we've got links below. Contribute to our Discord channel. That's where we can keep track and we can interact back and forth with ideas, whether it's Crank It Up, Turn It Down, Hall of Fame, drum industry news, quick question. If you have any questions for us, please go ahead and post them in the Discord or just in the comments below the video or through Spotify. Like I said before, support your local drum shop. If you've got a drum shop down the street, go check it out, introduce yourself. That is an incredible resource for you. In addition to supporting them will inevitably make your life better if you're a drummer. So support your local drum shop. If you don't have one, we will adopt you. But like I said, give a look around. There's a lot of small shops popping up, and it's a really great thing to start contributing towards the drumming community, which we all love. I will at this point be handing you, well, not at this point because I don't have anything yet. I will give you some Drum Key merch for being on the podcast. I appreciate you coming out. I know.
Wow.
I know. I don't have it, so this is really empty.
Yeah, okay.
An empty promise.
Thank you.
No. I'll get something to you. But thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.
All right.